In this episode, we talk about a list of essential medicines that has been shared by the WHO. We also talk about a 13-year-old who travelled to India from Afghanistan stowed away in the rear wheel well of an aircraft. But we begin today with Kolkata, where at least 9 people were killed, mostly due to electrocution, after heavy rainfall flooded the city the day before. Hi, I am Niharika Nanda, and you are listening to 3 Things, the Indian Express news show. Yesterday, Kolkata woke up to find large parts of the city underwater. Overnight, rain left arterial roads submerged, metro and train services suspended, and even Durga Puja pandals inundated. At least 9 people died after coming into contact with live wires, and thousands of commuters were stranded as transport networks collapsed. In some neighborhoods, rainfall crossed 300 millimeters, prompting the city's mayor to compare the situation to the devastating floods of 1978. Meanwhile, schools and offices were shut, flights were diverted, and in low-lying areas, school buildings were turned into shelters. So to understand how the rains brought Kolkata to a standstill and what this means for the city with the festival season around the corner, my colleague Ichha Sharma speaks to the Indian Express's Sweetie Kumari.
Sweetie, this overnight rainfall, which we understand became fatal for many, talk about what triggered it and also what has been its immediate impact.
So basically a low pressure area over the northeast Bay of Bengal coupled with a cyclonic circulation, it triggered the recent heavy rainfall. So the torrential downpour left several people dead, like as per reports, 9 have so far died, out of which 7 are from Kolkata itself. And those deaths are caused by electrocution, and there has been widespread disruption to daily life, and it started off post midnight. So when residents of Kolkata woke up, they saw that the city was already submerged into water and all the areas are flooded. So this heavy rainfall severely impacted city's transport network, and the entire life came to a standstill.
Right, and we know that metros and even flights have been disrupted. So talk about how badly did the rains affect the transport system?
Yeah, so the heavy rainfall severely impacted the city's transport network. Metro services were partially suspended initially due to waterlogged tracks, especially on the Blue Line. Train services were also disrupted as tracks at major stations like Howrah and Sialda were completely submerged. Our report says that the flight operations at Kolkata airport also faced delays and diversions. So there have been a massive impact of this rain, and airlines also issued advisories for passengers to, check flight statuses. We know that during Durga Puja, there's massive inflow of tourists and even those who stay outside and they want to come back to hometown to enjoy this festivity. So this is the peak time when, Kolkata airport or a railway station registers maximum footfall. So this sudden rain for which people, I would say, and the administration itself was not prepared, has been massively impacted. And beyond transport, the flood paralyzed daily life. Many low-lying neighborhoods are submerged under knee-deep to waist-deep water, with the water entering into homes and residential complexes. And, the flooding also forced schools to declare holiday and advised office goers to stay home. And there are many videos being circulated in social media. The areas which are usually prone to flood in Kolkata, this is usual for people to experience waterlogging in some pockets of the city. But this rain has caused flood across the city, I would say, be it north, south, everywhere you'll see water.
Right, and speaking about the impact of this event, we know that even authorities agreed that the drainage was slow as water flowed back from adjacent areas. So could you talk about what does this flooding tell us about the city's drainage infrastructure?
So, officials have also admitted that the drainage system is, struggling to cope up with this sudden downpour. And the state's geography, I would say, being at the lower end of the Ganga basin and a part of the world's largest delta, makes it naturally prone to flooding. But we see usually such scenes are seen in the rural side of the Bengal. However, combination of factors, including, unplanned urban expansion or poor drainage system, has basically added to the problem. And this high intensity rainfall event has intensified the situation, and people were not very prepared for this. The inability of this existing sewerage infrastructure to handle sudden excess water resulted in widespread and prolonged water logging, and the pumps are being used, and state administration has swung into action immediately. So there are efforts being on, but things cannot be changed in a day, and we really need to work on our drainage system, because ultimately 5 hours of rain, though it is being said that for last many years Kolkata did not receive such high intensity rain in a single day. However, it has also exposed a bad infrastructure and poor drainage system of the city.
And Sweetie, considering the upcoming Durga Puja celebrations, how significant is the disruption for the festive season?
Yeah, the timing of the rainfall just before this, start of Durga Puja is particularly disruptive. And it has, disappointed people. The rain has damaged numerous pandals while, we were taking a stock of the situation outside. We saw many small pandals completely submerged into water. And the waterlogging has hindered the final stages of preparations also. Pandal organizers are now scrambling to, repair the structures and manage electrical safety and all. The festive spirit that we talk about, when we talk about Durga Puja, we say during this month, Kolkata has a different vibe. So the festive spirit has been dampened with this sudden rain. And with many people who travel to the city for the celebration are now facing, flooded street and disrupted plan. As far as state administration is concerned, the focus will always be on the city areas and, posh areas. So now that the rural side, the suburban areas which are completely flooded, the people residing in those areas are completely disappointed and very sad that how they are going to celebrate Durga Puja, which is going to start in next few days. So the government has mobilized municipal workers to pump out water from flooded areas, with some officials also working to clear, metro track, railway track. So now basically they have a state control room also to cope up with this situation. State administration is working, but this has exposed a bad infrastructural preparation.
And lastly, Sweetie, have rains been predicted for the next few days as well? And also, what immediate steps are authorities taking to restore normalcy?
Yeah, so basically, I'll also point out that this 251.4 mm of rainfall on Monday night has forced Kolkata not to come to a standstill, but historically, this ranks as the third highest single day rainfall for September in the city. We have a record shared by a weather department. So on September 28, 1978, the city had recorded 369.6 mm rainfall and 259.5 mm on September 26, 1986. So when considering all-time records, regardless of the month, the recent rainfall, which is the city's sixth highest single-day total ever recorded. So we can, access the situation, how bad it was. So definitely administration will take time to clear the water. They are on their foot. So CM Mamata Banerjee also instructed. Mayor Firhad Hakim was in the monitoring room inside the KMC throughout this. There is an alert among all the officials. They're trying, and as far as weather forecast is concerned, weather department says that the rainfall is going to continue. It will rain, and we should be mentally prepared for a wet Durga Puja this time. However, they continue to say that the rainfall would not be a very heavy rainfall. Weather department had predicted that Kolkata will witness rainfall, but not something which falls under the category of heavy rainfall. But we saw a completely different situation last night. So finger crossed, let's see how the state administration works. And hopefully, if it doesn't rain, maybe the roads will be clear by a day or two.
And next, we turn our attention to important life-saving medicines. Every 2 years, the World Health Organization releases a model list of essential medicines. This list serves as a guide for countries to frame their own lists so that crucial drugs remain affordable and accessible. The selections are made prioritizing and keeping in mind the unique health challenges of the country. Now, this year, in its 24th list, the WHO added certain obesity and weight loss drugs along with specific cancer medications as well. To find out which medications have been added to the list and why they are considered essential, we speak to the Indian Express's Anona Dutt in this segment. Anona, first tell us how these essential lists of medicines work and how important are they for a country's health planning?
So what an essential list does is ensure access to certain medications. So for example, any medication that's mentioned on the essential list would be typically available in, say, a government health facility. So if we look at India's essential medicine list, it has certain distinctions. For example, it would list certain medicines that would be available at a primary health center, certain medicines that would be available at a secondary care hospital, certain medicines that would be available at a tertiary care hospital. So one thing is ensuring access through the public health system. The list is also used by governments to procure these medicines, and usually pooled procurements help reduce the costs, etc. in the government setup, because these medicines are considered to be essential for the treatment of certain conditions which are the most commonly found in a population. Other than that, some countries also use their essential medicine lists to ensure that, say, health insurance also cover these medicines for the patient. So that's essentially the use of these lists.
And we understand that the WHO has now added certain obesity and diabetes medicines to its model list of essential medicines. Can you tell us which ones these are?
So there are 4 of the new GLP-1 drugs that have been added to the list, which includes the, blockbuster semaglutide, which people might know as Ozempic or Wegovy. Then there's 2 more molecules that were discovered, which came into the market before semaglutide, which are dulaglutide and liraglutide. And then there is the most recent drug to enter the market, which is tirzepatide, which people would know as Zepbound or Mounjaro. So these 4 molecules have been added to the list for the treatment of type 2 diabetes and obesity. And the committee that was reviewing all the data also said that these drugs have shown through various studies to not only lower the blood glucose levels and result in weight loss, which is what it was meant for, but also, help with other conditions such as reducing the risk of heart diseases and kidney diseases, etc. It has also been approved for the treatment of obstructive sleep apnea. So there are various benefits to it. However, the committee did not recommend the inclusion of this medicine solely for obesity without any of these other chronic conditions. So basically what that would mean in a public health program would be that these drugs become available for people who have diabetes and other chronic conditions. However, not for people who are only obese with none of these other comorbidities. And I would like to add here that, of course, countries will be free to pick and choose from these medicines that have been listed depending on their need and their financial situation.
But Anona, how serious would you say is the issue of obesity worldwide, considering that medications for it have now been added to essential medicines?
So the thing with obesity is that for the longest time, it wasn't considered to be a disease. It was considered to be a, lifestyle issue. But that's no longer the case because more and more doctors have come to realize that obesity is a precursor for several other chronic conditions, including hypertension, diabetes, heart diseases, kidney diseases, and a host of other problems, including some of the cancers as well. So that is the reason there's a lot more focus on obesity. So the latest figures available for 2022 say that 1 in 8 people across the world are obese. And, worldwide adult obesity has doubled between 1990 and 2022. And the obesity among adolescents has quadrupled. So that's a huge jump in say 30 years. And that is what is leading to more concern, because increasing obesity would also mean increasing, other chronic conditions. And the drugs have become available, like I mentioned, the two drugs that have sort of really captured the market, semaglutide and tirzepatide. Before that, obesity treatment was not very effective, other than, say, surgeons performing the bariatric or weight loss surgeries. Medicines that were so far available were not very effective at weight loss. However, these medicines have shown to help people lose up to 20% of their body weight, which is, almost similar to what you would see with a weight loss surgery.
And Anona, you write that along with these obesity drugs, certain cancer medications have also been added to the list. Can you tell us about that?
So one of the most significant additions to the list is, in additions, or we can say that increase in access would be of PD-1 or PD-L1 inhibitors. So these are a class of immunotherapy medicines which target a protein called PD-1 or programmed cell death 1. So what essentially happens is this protein is known to suppress the activity of the immune cells called T cells. So PD-1 essentially acts like a brake in the immune system's fight against cancer, and the drug releases this brake. That is how it works. And one of the most commonly used PD-1 medicine, pembrolizumab, which is known by its brand name Keytruda, has now been included in this WHO list for the first-line treatment of metastatic cervical cancer, metastatic colorectal cancer, and metastatic non-small cell lung cancer. So earlier it would be used as, say, later on in the disease progression, but now this has been approved as the first-line therapy. And for the lung cancer, there are two other alternatives which the WHO has added, atezolizumab and cemiplimab. So these are the cancer drugs that have been included, and this is essential because these drugs, especially Keytruda, has been shown to be very effective in the treatment of certain cancers, and yet access remains very difficult because of, these are quite high-priced molecules.
And what do medical experts have to say about these inclusions? Also, what factors were kept in mind while adding these specific medications to the list?
So again, like I said, one of the considerations is that the medicines that get added can do the most benefit for the most number of people at the least cost. So those are the considerations that were made. Keytruda, for example, was included because it's a drug which has been shown to be effective in certain cancers and its access would help save lives. But the committee also noted that there are several other such immunotherapy drugs that have become available over the years, but the prices of these drugs have remained high. So the committee said that even with a very narrow indication and using the medicines with the highest cost-benefit ratio, the drugs are still not affordable for a lot of the countries, especially the low-income and low-middle-income countries. So that is one of the challenges of these medicines. However, what is good about the fact is that over the next 3 to 5 years, some of these medicines will come out of patent and there would likely be a reduction in prices when other people start manufacturing these drugs.
Right. So in the long run, this should mean greater accessibility of these medicines to the general public, right?
Yes, that is likely to happen when, generic medicines enter the market. What we have seen with even, say, diabetes drugs that have gotten off patent, say, in the last 3 to 4 years, is a drastic drop in the prices up to sometimes 90%. So that is a thing that we have to look out for. There's likely to be a dip in prices once these medicines come off of patent.
And lastly, we talk about how a 13-year-old boy from Kunduz in Afghanistan stored away in an aircraft's rear wheel well, the internal compartment which houses the landing gear, carrying just a small red-colored audio speaker with him. For over 90 minutes, the boy flew in the wheel well, miraculously landing unscathed at the Indira Gandhi International Airport in the capital. Dressed in a white kurta pajama, he was spotted by some airport staff who then informed the Central Industrial Security Force at the airport. According to an official of the Central Industrial Security Force or the CISF, the boy had stowed away on a KAM Air Kabul-Delhi flight which had landed at the IGI airport at 10:20 am. Upon inquiry, it was found out that the boy wanted to travel to Iran, so he sneaked into the Kabul airport, trailed a group of passengers and stowed away in an aircraft's rear wheel well. But it was a flight bound for Delhi, not Tehran. Subsequently, an aircraft security check was conducted by the airline's security and engineering staff, during which a small red-colored audio speaker was found in the rear landing gear area. The boy was then taken to immigration department officials at the airport. After a detailed questioning, he was sent back on the same aircraft at 4 p.m. The mortality rate for wheel well stowaways is estimated at around 77%. Commercial aircrafts typically cruise at altitudes between 30,000 and 40,000 feet, where temperatures plummet to around minus 50 degrees Celsius. Unlike the aircraft cabin that is pressurized, lack of oxygen makes survival difficult for a person traveling in a wheel well, which is neither heated nor pressurized. Apart from hypoxia due to lack of sufficient oxygen and hypothermia due to freezing temperatures, the chances of fatal injury by the movement of the landing gear as well as the risk of falling out are high. But the boy miraculously reached Delhi without any injuries. You were listening to 3 Things by the Indian Express. Today's episode was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar and produced by Ichha Sharma and me, Niharika Nanda. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Podcast and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.